have to take accountability for whatever part I played and whatever I went through. And if you look hard enough, or if you care to look hard enough, you're gonna find some of us smaller than others. You're gonna find you in there somewhere. And if you can start there, you can, in my opinion, you can expedite the process. If you start within, you can expedite the process, because a lot of times these things that we do or these things that we go for, it be for a lot of external validation. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have some internal resolve.
What up, what up, what up? We are here once again with another edition. I don't even know what number it is, but we are back with another edition
batting 1,000,
of the
baby.
Heart Podcast. Yes, we are. We have a full house tonight,
Full
man.
house.
We have a full house. And yo, I'm just excited to get into it tonight, man. You know, Cole, you have been missing in action. Uh, George have been missing in action, like out there like a
Amen.
vagabond,
Amen.
like a
The last
vagabond.
6 months.
The
I missed
only
The
one.
one
last
Oh,
six
week.
hey,
months.
listen.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
doing
You
it.
got the mic.
Listen. I'm doing the
I'm gonna respond
intro.
though.
Please, no, you
I'm
can't.
sorry.
I'm doing the
I
intro.
apologize.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Let's do it again. Welcome to another edition from a Father's Heart Podcast. Listen, with your boys Sean and Cole.
I
It's
missed 1 week.
uh, in our frequent new every fourth Thursday co-host. George is gone with his. See, there you go. With his, he goes black. Welcome back, George. Hey, welcome back
George, we
again.
miss you, man. We miss you, brother. We
Yeah,
miss you.
Glad to be back. Glad to be home. I'll just say
Man,
that. We
yeah.
gonna we gonna revisit that in a minute though, when you get done with your intro, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, like I said, man, George's out there like a little vagabond, and Cole, I don't know where
bro,
he was, but
just
listen, we gonna get into it tonight, man. Kyle, how are you, brother? You said
welcome back.
you ran to your home tonight. You said, "Yo, let me run home to
Yeah.
hop on this podcast."
Hey,
So, what was you
you
doing,
gotta do what you
man?
gotta do, right? You gotta do what you gotta do. So
You
out
do.
here in New York, cars are sparse. Some people got them, some people don't.
That's real.
Yeah, man.
That's real. That's
So
real. That's
yeah, it's
real.
raining out here, and so I had to get here by 8:30 and ready to go.
Let's go, man. We are here. We are here, man.
Man.
We are here.
Well,
Yo, Cole, talk to me.
well
You said you wasn't feeling all that.
George got his hands
Oh,
up.
George has his hand up. All right, what's up, George?
No, I just wanted to address my absence, if you don't mind. Now you use words like vagabond and different things like that. Because we transparent on this podcast, and because I'm amongst family, I'll just be the first to say life has lifed me these
Mm.
last approximately 6 months. And I'm not saying that for sympathy or anything of that nature. I'm saying it to just remind the listeners that we are not exempt to real life. However, so I'll say about 6 months. This last month, I've done a lot of like reflection, self reflection, and different things of that nature. And it's funny because I got to be able to practice what I preach. Everybody kind of know what I do. But this last month or so, I've done a lot of reflection. And even though I've lost some things in these last, few months, last 6 months or so, I've learned. And that's the whole point that I want to make. Whatever you in, whatever you're navigating, however you're going through this journey, this path, even in the loss, you got to learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn. That's all I wanted to say. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. So vagabond would actually, in the proper context, that would actually might be actually right, because a vagabond kind of wanders around lost, trying to find, shelter, trying to find safety, trying to find all of these different things. So,
Wow.
I'll take that. take that, but
Did you see how did you see
we
how
back
he
up
just
now,
went?
baby. We back up. I did my inner work. I did my shadow work for the last 30 days. I'm back up, baby.
Ooh,
Back.
that man said shadow work, baby.
You see how? Do you see how he tried to? He really
Look,
tried. He gonna really try to take my words and use it
I'm saying
against
we
me.
back, baby. You use the right words. I'm giving you props. I'm giving you yours. You use the right words, and
listen,
when you
listen,
think about it, that kind of makes sense. That was kind of fresh. I got it. I'm with it. We good. We back up though. That's what I want.
listen.
That's what I want to reiterate. We back.
George, listen, brother. This is why we're glad you back, man, because you literally just set the stage for our conversation tonight, and it's centered literally around how do you cope versus or how do you heal versus coping, like the difference between the two, especially
Good
when you
stuff.
find yourself dealing with adversities or challenges as a man and as a father. And so this, when I think about my my issues and the challenges that I come with, sometimes people just instantly go to you got to heal through that, you got to heal through that.
Yeah,
But healing
yeah,
is not, it's not as simple as just say heal and then instantly you heal. Like, we pick up these coping mechanisms to process through these difficult times, right? And
yeah.
so I mean, I think you just setting the stage for just that level of transparency around, as men, how how do we recognize when we are coping versus when we're healing, and how do you work through that when you're the provider and you're all the things. So also to that, right, also want George, for you to also talk to us about the book and just how all of this has come together for you in this space. So I just want
Gotcha.
to
So
open it up to y'all.
I can start with that healing. And this is something that people I don't think truly understands because life is what it is, and because stuff is going to come and go, and you have those inevitables. I think people like to say, "I'm healed. I'm healed." And for me, and I'm talking personally, and as professional opinion too, healing is a state of that's a continuous state, right? You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm,
like once you get to one mark or one milestone or something like that, you'll be chilling, you'll be straight, and then something else comes or different things like that. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic or nothing like that, but we know that life brings the inevitables. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some ups, it's going to be some downs. Things ain't going to always turn out the way that you wanted, desired, planned, and different things of that nature. You spoke about healing as opposed to coping mechanisms. I can speak to that too. I think for me, and this latest little whatnot that I had to navigate through, the first thing I had to do was take accountability, right? The first thing I had to do was take accountability. And when I say accountability, I'm talking about self accountability. You know what I'm saying? We make decisions and we make choices, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes because we want what we want, or we see what we see, or we desire what we desire, we go. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of that, you'll have all types of yellow lights. You'll have all
mm,
type of yield signs. You'll have all type of different things like, no, don't go right, go left. You know what I'm saying? But like some of us are ambitious, some of us are driven, some of us are grinders and hustlers, and so we'll use, you know what I'm saying, we'll use that to say like, no, I got to have it, you know what I'm saying, or I want this, or I need that, or different things like that, in spite of those yield signs, in spite of those yellow slowdowns, in spite of those think about it and different things like that. So when the chickens come home to roost, for lack of better terms, the first thing for me, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a mirror out. You know what I'm saying? And I like to call it a mental mirror. You know what I'm saying? Because I like to do reflection. I like to think, and I have to take accountability for whatever part I played and whatever I went through. And if you look hard enough, or if you care to look hard enough, you're gonna find some for some of us smaller than others. You're gonna find you in there somewhere.
mm.
And if you can start there, you can, in my opinion, you can expedite the process. If you start within, you can expedite the process, because a lot of times these things that we do, or these things that we go for, it be for a lot of external validation. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have some internal resolve. You understand what I'm saying? In order to kind of balance that out when you get on the other side and you're like, man, I blew that. I messed that up. I knew better, and different things like that. So for me, self accountability is the first step in whatever kind of healing recovery process that you got to go through. So
That
Don't be
is
quiet on
dope.
me,
So
fella.
if you don't mind me asking, like, do you find that now you're better at identifying when those things are starting to happen, or does it always? Because what I find is like, and I'm sure we've all ran into it either with ourselves or with someone that we work with or
Hmm.
family. It's like it always takes some event or something to happen in a negative fashion in order to drive change.
Yep.
Why? But
Yep.
why? Why? Why does it have to come to that? And so I just wonder, like, in my experience, I feel like I'm getting better at being aware of those things and trying
Hmm.
to make proactive choices and put people in my life and seeking faith and all these other things that don't necessarily have a destination that you kind of
Yep.
mentioned, and something that is a marker of like I made it. It's just like, no, I can shift and just take that next right step. Even if I took one bad one, right, I can get right back into moving the other direction. Like I just wondered, like as you were talking, like everything's got to be a lesson. I 100% agree, but like,
Yep.
have you found that you're quicker nowadays in your, as we've getting older, like you
Yeah.
have those experiences to draw on that you don't have to go so far down the path to put you so far back that you got to like rebuild your life.
Yeah. So you asked me personally. I'm just gonna speak from my personal experience.
Yeah.
But first, I want to say something to you. Saying I always question um, what you were talking about when you're saying it always takes something hurtful or it
Yeah.
always takes something painful to incite change. And I heard
Right.
a quote many years ago, and unfortunately, I believe it to be true because it's what I've experienced personally, it's what I've seen professionally, family, friends, socially. And the quote is this: "Pain teaches us lessons that pleasure never could." And I'm gonna say
Yeah.
it again: pain teaches us lessons that pleasure never could. I hate that it's that way, right? You know what I'm saying? But what I've noticed is that for change to happen, most times people have to lose something of significance. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be that way. I would love to learn from
Right.
happy times. You know what I'm saying? I would love to learn from joyous times when everything is good and everybody up and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
have just not personally seen it that way. And then to the second part of your question, where you said, "Do I feel like I'm able to recognize it quicker?" I 100% able to recognize it quicker, but it's that human nature in me that makes me want what I want, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So I'll be clear from the beginning. A lot of times for me, I'll be clear from the beginning. You know better. And so, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why when I get to the end, it's not
Yeah.
time for me to point the finger. It's not time for me to say, you know what I'm saying, if such and such wouldn't have happened, or if you would have been there, or if I would have been able to just do it this way or something like that. That's why I automatically come back to me because I be knowing that I knew better. I'll be
Yeah.
knowing that I knew better, but we want what we want.
Yeah.
And then there's another part. There's another part to that. Sometimes we be trying to fill voids, right? So,
Yeah.
for something else that's lacking, or so we'll be like, well, I'll put up with a little bit of this. You know what I'm saying? Just for the end, for the end. The end game or something like that. And I don't think we do enough before we on whatever ambition we on or whatever. I don't think we do enough risk versus reward in the beginning, right? I don't think we do that enough. I don't do we think we do enough pros versus cons in the beginning because we be looking at the end. You know what I'm saying? We be looking at the finish line. So to answer your question, I do think I'm better, and I have got better with age and experience and knowledge and wisdom and different things like that. But sometimes that ego get to going. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're warring between your heart and your mind, your logic and your emotions. You know what I'm saying? And if those things aren't regulated, you know what I'm saying? You're going to typically go what you feeling because we like to feel good.
Yeah.
People like to feel good. And however that is, physically, mentally, emotionally, behavior, we like to feel good. And so sometimes we go for a feeling and it just kind of puts us in overdrive where we overpower that logic, we overpower that rationale, we overpower, you know what I'm saying, those past experiences that taught us don't do this, and we go So yeah, I do think you should get wiser as you get older or have more experience.
Yeah.
What's up, Mr. Massey? But what's interesting that you brought that you gave an analogy. My son, we just left from him training, right? And I was talking to another dad that was there, and as I'm talking, I'm looking at my son. So all week, back up. So when they have spring break this week, and he said to me, he said, "Yo, Dad, this week can we train?" Right? He like, this is spring break. I want to go and train each day, and I had every attempt to do it, but due to this moving and all that type of stuff, I haven't had enough time to do it with him, right? But anyway, tonight he went to work out, and so I think that's an important part. Like, he wanted to work out, but we weren't able to do as much. He wanted to work out, and so tonight I took him to training with Coop, and while he was there, bro, I'm watching him, and this dude is going 1,000%, 1,000%. And I'm looking at him, and we got in the car. I said to him, I was like, yo, I said, yo, I keep it 100 with you, man. I was like, if I wasn't your father looking at you out there today, I would have been on the sideline like, yo, who is that kid? I'm like, yo, you stood out. Like, your effort, your technique, all of those things. And I was like, yo, what was different? Like, yo, what happened? I'm like, I know you have that ability, but what happened? He was like, I'll tell you what happened, Dad. He said, not being able to work out. And he said, I started thinking that all of these years you've been telling me that at any given time, you don't know when you'll get another opportunity. And he said, and I was just thinking about it because there was so many kids there today. I wasn't going to get as many opportunities as I normally have. And he said, I wanted to take advantage of every single opportunity. And
Wow.
Yeah.
so for us to be, and here this 12-year-old, it clicks in to where he's giving this effort. And it wasn't that he didn't have that ability before.
Hmm.
He's always had the ability, but it was something that he was telling himself mentally that was causing him not to give that effort, and today he did. So I think that is something that we have to be mindful of, being the way we are hardwired, of being aware of that's something that we can control, and a lot of
Yeah.
times we
Yeah.
avoid
Yeah.
we avoid doing the hard things. We avoid taking a look in the mirror. We avoid, calling our own selves to the carpet, right? And so just looking at him and listening to him, like, bro, and I celebrated him, but I was thinking, I was like, yo, this dude had this ability all at the same time. He had all of that, but he chose not to put in the effort for whatever reason. But listening to what you and Kyle is saying is like, do you have to lose something? And
Yeah.
in his mind, he was like, yo, I don't know when I'm gonna get another opportunity, and I didn't have a chance to operate this week. So when he had the opportunity, he definitely took
Made the most out of
advantage
it.
of it. So that was just dope, and it just connects to what you and Kyle said. I'm
And
sorry,
then,
Cole.
yep. Go
Kyle
ahead, Cole.
and George, question for you too. Like, and Sean, this is something too to think about. Where does belief come in at?
Mm,
I, I mean, I think a lot of it can be like kind of like with what Sean was saying too, and when George was talking, I started to think about how can you, you know, change that so that that doesn't happen. And I think 100% it has to be with the people you surround yourself with, right? And
Fair enough.
as fathers, like being willing to have those hard conversations with them. You know, like I'm sure Sean, you've had conversations with them before that were very, very difficult to have. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not easy. You know, but like I was reading this the other day. It's like if you think having hard conversations is difficult, try living with the results of not having them. And
Yeah.
mm, mm,
man, that hit me right between the right between the eyes, man. Because
mm.
like,
Some of the most uncomfortable. That was fire. Some of the
Yeah.
most uncomfortable conversations always end up being the most necessary ones.
yeah,
And this is the thing that people don't understand about communication. When you're talking about relationships, whether you're talking about romantic, platonic, familial, Any type of relationships, communication is important. You always hear people say, you got to communicate, you got to communicate. The part that they don't ever say is communication is not just the good stuff. Communication is the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. You have to be able to surround yourself, like Kyle said, with people who can, number one, hold you accountable. Number two, they can say, hey, maybe did you think of it this way? Or did you look at it from this perspective? Without, like, people are very sensitive or can be very sensitive to criticism. And that criticism can be the very thing that they need to make it to the next phase. You know what I'm saying? If you're not around people who can tell you about yourself, even the stuff that you don't want to hear or doesn't necessarily feel good, you're not around the right people. And now I will say this: everybody can't deposit into you. Everybody can't speak to you, but you should at least surround yourself around people who, over a period of time, have proven to be trustworthy, have proven to be dependable, and have proven to you that they have your best interest at heart, regardless of what they're saying. And if you're around people enough and you allow those relationships to develop enough, then those people, you know what I'm saying, you'll feel safe when they're talking to you. Me and Sean, I've known Sean the longest on here. Me and Sean have had a ton of uncomfortable conversations over the years. He said things to me about things that I need to work on or different things like that I didn't necessarily want to hear at the time. And even though, because we got the relationship, I'm gonna give him some slack or I'm gonna give him some smoke, I have to take in consideration what he said, which leads me to my next point. If everybody around you or the majority of people around you are saying the same thing about your behavior, about your character, about your personality, about these different things, if everybody or the majority of people are saying the same thing, you have to at least take in consideration that there might be some truth to it. You have to, or you don't grow, you don't get better, you don't mature, you don't develop, you don't cultivate, and you stay stuck.
Yeah.
That's the other option. Listen, adjust, implement, or stay stuck.
I think it's also too like got to be consistent. Like Sean didn't just say something to him one time back when he
Yeah,
was younger at a like that was consistently being around good people, consistently hearing the same messages, and then and then when he was left alone, it was still there. It wasn't like so. I think it's being around good people, but being around the same messaging
yeah,
constantly,
That's good.
positive,
seeding.
and not even just positive, but like being around people that are willing to have those difficult conversations with you because
Yes.
you know and when
It's,
we're
And
younger sometimes we don't have that choice, we just are there, we got to be around Sean.
Yeah.
but I think what you're also saying too, George, is really powerful. I mean, it all goes back to what's rooted in you. So if I'm growing in an environment that creates these type of experiences for me to have, where I learn how to communicate, where the things that you say to me sticks and stays with me. So when I'm alone, I hear your voice until it becomes my own voice. Then
Yep.
I think that's the power, right? So when I'm in these spaces, I'm now allowed, at some point when I'm having difficult conversations outside of myself, I can now take those, what I'm hearing you guys say, that I can take those tools and apply them to having a difficult conversation with myself. But if
Yes.
I'm having conversations with people who don't know how to communicate effectively, who put me in environments and situations where I don't feel safe, where when I
Yeah,
have tried to take the tools and the tips that was given to me to practice communication, and then all of a sudden when I do that, I get shamed, I feel guilty, I get blamed for trying to do it, then oftentimes it really becomes difficult for me to practice that when on
yeah,
myself, especially, or I start to use what the tools have been given to me, and now
Mm-hmm.
I have the self doubt, now I have the insecurities, now I have the guilt and the shame, because that is what the environment that I was birthed in created for me. And so I
Yes.
think, how as
yeah,
men and as fathers, how do we make sure? Because I'm looking at you brothers, and just from our physical aspects, we are seasoned brothers, but there are host of brothers that are in this space that, and we can just take the physical out, that they could look like us and still not have what you guys are talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what would you say are some of the steps that a man can take in creating that environment if he was not born in it? and if he's still operating out of that. So can we speak to any things you would say, hey, brother, this is father, this is what you can do?
I can say a starting point. I guess you could say that, because there are many people who, like you said, were not raised with proper or appropriate communication. They don't receive well. They're like I said earlier, super sensitive to criticism, even if it is people that's in their circle and different things like that. So what I would say, and it kind of all goes back to what I was saying about self accountability, is look at your life results. Right? You have to look at your life results. If you are not in the place that you desire to be and you are not making headway, I'm not talking about progress. We love progress, but I'm saying people who are stagnant, people who are stuck, people who have get a couple steps ahead to get knocked 4 or 5 steps back, and you see this repeated cycle of disappointment, this repeated cycle of letdown, this repeated cycle of, and I'm just going to say, failure in multiple different areas. I'm not just talking about career. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about finances. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about spiritual growth. I'm talking about the whole, the whole sum of a man. And if you see all of these, I don't want to call them dead spots, but you see all of these stagnant spots, and your results are not lining up, you emotionally drained, you mentally drained, you physically drained, not at peace.
What's up, Father's Heart podcast family? Yeah, we have sponsorships now, and this week's sponsor is none other than Involved Dad. So listen up, fathers. Are you looking for a deeper understanding to understand fatherhood and make a positive impact in your children and families' lives? Look no further than Involved Dad, right? Where we create strong fathers through fatherhood engagement, right? It's extremely important for children to have fathers that are not only showing up, but they are showing out, that they are fully invested, they are fully engaged. So this week's sponsor is an agency, man, that knows the ins and out of fatherhood and know how to strengthen families, know how to fill the gaps and connect families to the right resources so they can live their best lives and become more and more successful. So listen, if you need assistance, if you know someone who need help on fathering, on parenting, co-parenting, or a father that is just struggling, right? That he does not know how and what to do about his next move, because this game that we call this life that we live, sometimes, man, it's like a game of chess, right? Like knowing your next move. And at Involved Dad, what we do, we help fathers make their next best move. So reach out to us, right? The number is 313-757-1388, and you can find us on the web as well, and that is involveddad.org. No S, because a lot of people put Involved Dads, although we want Involved Dads, but it's involveddad.org. So yes, listen, don't be average, you might as well be elite in your parenting and in fatherhood.
You know what I'm saying? Seem like everybody familiar with the story about the Midas touch, where the king had the wish, and then everything he touched turned to gold. You know what I'm saying? Let's say that you the anti Midas, so everything you touch turn to poop. You know what I'm saying? Everything you touch turn to crap. That's where you start. You know what I'm saying? And because when you start there and when you accept that mentally, that's the opening for you to be able to say, something about my mentality, something about my viewpoint, something about my life perspective is not getting me the results that I desire, the results that I want, or the results that I need. And then you accept that, okay, I need new information. I need a new viewpoint. You have to accept it first. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you can be around the safest people or the safest environment in the world. And if you don't start here, it's not going to translate, or it's not going to manifest into your behavior. How you think is what you do. How you think is how you behave. And how you behave is how you get the results that you get. So let's make it backwards. If your results is not right, that means somewhere along the line your behavior was not right, which means somewhere along the line your thinking and your mentality was not right. So mentality, behavior, results, or backward results, however you want to do it, it start up here. Now I'm biased. I'm a mental health therapist, so of course I'm gonna always go back to the thinking, but I have not seen it any other way. Change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. I feel like I'm talking too much now. Go ahead, somebody finish.
Get that man the horn, Sean.
Sean hating on me. He been hating on me all
Get
night.
that man the horn.
What was that? That's all I. What
That was
kind of
like
horn?
the finale or something.
Hey, look.
He gave me the Undertaker bell. He
Dinner
gave.
bell. Dinner bell.
Hey, he referenced the movie, so I had to give him a little bell.
Listen, Sean, when my body start doing this, that means get that
Oh,
man
I'm
the
sorry.
yes.
No, that was good, George. That was good. I was
Hey,
caught up. My bad. Next time I had a horn ready. We gotta have
I
a horn
appreciate.
person.
Yeah.
We gotta have a horn person. You know, one of the things that he said, man, made me think. Right, a few years ago, bro, I was going through one of the most difficult times of my life, and I wanted to be angry, I wanted to be bitter, uh, and I wanted to be pissed. Right, flat out. One of the crazy things about it is that if you don't know, I'm a believer, right? I believe in Christ, and so I prayed to God and I asked Him to heal me, right? I asked Him to heal me. I asked Him to deliver me from this pain that I was having in my heart, like this whole resentment. And bro, he started healing me like quick as heck. And I'll be honest, man, I was pissed. I was mad because he was healing me. Because I'm like, yo, this person, I don't want to forgive them, right?
Yep.
Like, yo, they get
Let me carry
away.
this cross. So you wanted to carry that cross. You,
Yo, like
like, yep,
they
yep.
get away with that. You know what I mean? So you taking this away from me, that's like you saying like, yo, they got away with what they did. Like that's not cool. And I wasn't saying that publicly, so one day I called George. I was in DSW, bro. And I called George and I was like, yo, and I started telling him the story. And he listened to me and his response was simple. He was like, bro, you want to be mad. He said, me listening to you want to be mad. He said, I get it, what you going through and what you went through and the whole nine. Like, he like, yo, I get it. I feel you. But listening to you, you want to be mad. And I was pissed at George after that because he was telling the truth. I did want to be, and so I say that and bring that up is we talk about going from coping to healing.
Mhm.
Sometime, man, we just want to stay in that place. We want to be
Yes,
a victim. We
yes,
want to be a victim. And I'll be honest, I didn't want to be a victim. I wouldn't say that out loud, but I really did because I didn't want to be healed. Right? I wanted to feel bad. I wanted the person who hurt me to know I was hurt.
yeah,
Right? And I wanted them, and no matter what they did, it wasn't enough to satisfy my sorrow or whatever the case because it was never enough. No matter how many times they said they were sorry, no matter how many times they, made me feel or tried to make me feel better, it was never enough. Why? Because I wanted to be a victim. I wanted to be a victim.
How, how do you think, in terms of healing versus coping, how do you think you were, like, what were you saying to like your son in those moments, and your daughters when you were pissed? How do you think you were coming across to them? You think that
Oh,
that was
oh, bro, I was lights out, bro. I was lights out. They never had an idea, right? Because I was intentional about
okay?
it, right? They
Okay.
they didn't know, right?
Right.
Like they didn't know. Man, I knew how to put that mask on, bro.
yeah,
Like I was
yeah.
sweet with it. You know what I mean? They didn't miss a beat.
That,
There was nothing shifting in my crib. None of that. Um, but
and
bro,
that's coping.
when they was, that was the coping, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the coping. I had that mask on. Nobody knew. Nobody knew except for me and the person that I was angry at, right? Because I made sure they knew.
Right.
Yeah.
They should. I made sure they knew, and that's the thing, man, Kyle. That that was my coping aspect, and it was people like George. It was people like Jacoby who and Cole at the time, where you guys held me accountable, right? And I had to start doing the work. Like, bro, like how are you gonna stay in this state? And so I had to shift the way I was thinking. I had to literally like, okay, like, bro, how long is enough? How long you gonna stay in this condition?
That goes exactly to what I'm saying, Sean. Like like it almost might sound like I'm being harsh, and I'm like, no, look in the mirror, or no, look at your results, and it's not that at all. It's at some point somebody has to have that exact same realization that you said. How long you gonna be mad? How long you gonna be sad? How long you gonna be sick? How long you gonna be broke? Like how long you gonna be? Because believe it or not, those things are choices. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the sickness, you know what I'm saying? But even, if you really want to get deep, things that we eat, the things that, different things like that. But anger and I don't ever want to downplay someone's emotions or feelings and say that they don't have a right, but you can't live there.
That's the part. That's
You
is that's that.
can't take up permanent residence in despair and distress and turmoil. You have to change something. Whether that's, what I'm saying, physically, you got to move around, mentally, you got to move around, emotionally, you got to move. Like you got to move. You have to move, or it's like living in a condemned building, and all of the health hazards that comes with that.
Man.
That's what our mind is. That's what our bodies is. Like you gonna just live in it. You gonna sit in that hurt. You can be mad for, and I'm gonna tell you something else. Not specifically talking to your situation, but a lot of times in these situations where our offense or our fault is with another person, they then went on down the road. They're living life. You know what I'm saying? And you still sitting in it. And they did it to you 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, or 10 years ago. And every time they cross your path, you feel some type of way. Your face starts to contort. You know what I'm saying? You lose, that pit in your stomach. Like, no, you gonna stay there. You gonna live there forever for good.
Yeah.
We ain't got to worry.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about the afterlife because some people choose in hell on earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a choice, man. It's a choice. I talk to a lot of people who, they navigate through childhood trauma. In other words, things that their parents did or things that their parents didn't do. Come on, man. At 35, at 40, I ain't saying it wasn't messed up. It happened. You understand? It happened, and some of the things definitely probably changed the trajectory. But when you recognize it and you acknowledge it, you stay there, you live there, you reside there. That's a heavy burden to carry.
Good.
And don't think for 1 minute it doesn't have physical and mental ramifications when you carry that stuff on the inside of you.
On multiple people. Like
Yes,
when you have
yes.
when you're that hurt and
Yep.
it bleeds on everyone else. It's not just
Bleed that's the exact word.
What do you What
That
do you
bleed
mean by
in your.
that, Kyle?
when you're carrying around that pain and that shame or that guilt. I mean, you might think that I had this mask on and I had all these things and I was dad number one, not just you, but like or I'm mom and super mom or whatever, but you're impacting them in some way that you can't see,
Absolutely.
because you're so caught up in what is happening to you that you're not able to see the impact that it's having. From my own personal experience, I know that I there it was impacting my kids and the people close to me, when I've dealt with my things. It's just it's hard to admit, and you try to find someone that it's almost like you want to put yourself around people like that are doing things that you want to be like, like and surround yourself with those people so that you can get out of where you're at and learn how to handle, the things that you've been through and how to deal with it and how to not impact, because I heard, as parents, we all do things that are going to we think are probably not the best for our kids. We say things to,
Absolutely. Yep.
but we also have the choice the next day to do something different to change those things. And the more consistent we are, if you're hitting 8 out of 10 with your kids with what's positive in terms of what I think you got a pretty good shot to have an experience like Sean just did tonight.
Yeah.
With his son actually came to the conclusion and made that decision for himself. I mean, that to me would have, and I think I shared this last time I was on with my son shooting the basketball about, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And
Yeah.
that same thinking got him last week. He was doing a little strider down the driveway with tears in his eyes. And then 10 minutes later, he's riding a two-wheeler, like it's like, you just keep with it. And it's all what you're talking yourself. Our self-talk is, is the most dangerous thing in the world. It's also some of the most powerful stuff in the world too.
Absolutely.
It
How you
is.
see your how you see yourself is how the world see you, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How you see yourself is how the world see you, because how you see yourself is how you carry yourself, and how you carry yourself is how you, I don't want to say train, that's a little harsh, but that is how you show people how to handle you. You
Hmm.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Then we talked about like bleeding. The reason why it's so important to be self aware and to work, you know what I'm saying, towards the best version of yourself, because the best version of yourself is just that. That means the best version of yourself is the best parent. The best version of yourself is the best significant other. The best version of yourself is the best friend.
Yeah.
The best friend and the best brother and different things like that. So as you're doing these things and making strides towards these corrections, adjustments, or alterations that you need to make to yourself, it spills out. So just like it can bleed out negatively, it can
Oh
come
yeah.
out, it can manifest out positively as
Yeah.
you're growing.
That's
Hundred
good.
You
percent.
know what I'm saying? Absolutely. As you grow, for every action, there's opposite or equal reaction. You know what I'm saying? So if you can have negative influence, you know what I'm saying, when you are holding on to these things and stuff like that, imagine the positive you can influence
Yeah.
as you're releasing these things,
Oh
and growing through these things, or going through these things, recovering, healing, or whatever terminology you want to use. Like, this is the thing. We're not just living, even the most selfish people is not just living for themselves, because you got somebody that you're impacting
yeah. Right.
directly
Right.
or indirectly. You got somebody that you're influencing directly or indirectly. And if you have that mindset, that would make you, it should make you want to progress, grow.
Yep.
You know what I'm
That's,
saying? Move. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it takes me back to that question that I asked too, like the power of belief. And it's much easier to believe things outside of yourself than to believe in the things that are inside of yourself. It's much
Yes.
easier to operate out of your human nature than to be connected to yourself to understand your spiritual nature. Like it's those kinds of things that I think, and I think of when I know people that they believe something. When somebody says, I believe in Jesus or I
Hmm.
believe in Allah, when they say they believe it, I mean believers are no joke. Like their belief is you can say I will do the worst things to you, denounce that belief. No, you take me out because this belief is what I believe in and it is
yeah.
the core. And so I think there's so much power in what we believe. And if I believe that I'm just like my daddy, who my mama said ain't this. I'm
Yep.
just like so and so. I'm not. I was never smart in math, so I'm never good at this. Like again, everything that we're talking about is so connected to this idea of who we believe that we are. And to
Yeah.
like break out of that is it takes community. It takes the which you guys have all described, that level of brotherhood, that feeling of safety. It takes, George, what I want you to take an opportunity to share with our audience the incubator that we go into to create. You've written a book, and so this idea of healing so I would love for you to just speak to like your book and the power of it and its purpose in terms of like how you've used your time to create, because I think part of this is also helping men and fathers understand that we just don't create by just producing life. We are creators and we create,
Yeah.
and how we can create the world we want to live versus negative or positive. So I would love for you, man, to take some time to just speak to us about what you've created and where you want it to go and how we can use it.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, I got the proof here. So the name of the book is Therapy,
He forgot.
Thoughts, Fear,
Did
and
he forget
Thorns.
it?
What I did. I did.
You gotta say it again, George. Say it
I
again,
thought I had the
George.
floor. I thought
Leave
I
it
had
at
the
that.
floor.
I'm sorry. I'm
I thought I
sorry.
had the
I'm sorry. It's like he forgot his kid's name.
I'm
Like,
one.
what are
I'm
you,
100. Listen,
child
I'm
two?
100. I'm 100% at a concert and forgot the lyrics to my own song that
Yeah.
I wrote. Like that's exactly what just happened. But it's Therapy, Thoughts, Theories, and Thorns. It's a memoir of an urban therapist. I've had a lot of experience over these last 20 years or so. About 9 of those in private practice, and I talk about a lot in here. I talk about a lot of the myths and a lot of the stigmas of mental health. I share personal experiences as well as professional experiences that I got permission. Um, I talk about psychotropic medication for mental health. I actually interviewed some people here in the city who had experiences with it or knew someone close to them who had experiences because, you know what I'm saying, so much misinformation is out here, right? And I'm not trying to convince nobody for or against. I'm just trying to dispel a lot of the myths to why certain communities and marginalized communities, minority communities, just don't mess with mental health. Even though when you look at it, a lot of these things that are traditional or cultural or different things like that are directly tied to mental health, but people don't have a name for some of the things that they face. And so everybody just got the crazy Uncle Joe, or everybody got, oh, that's just TT this and different things like that. And so, you know what I'm saying, when we start putting a name to some of the faces of the things that we experience, and we realize, oh, not only is this abnormal, or not only is this dysfunctional, but there's help. You know what I'm saying? There is a way to navigate, you know what I'm saying, to bring back some balance or to bring back some calm or bring back some peace in a lot of these tumultuous situations that stem from undiagnosed and unaddressed mental health. So that's the book, Therapy, Thoughts, Theories, and Thorns. Forgot it again. But it's actually, I feel like it's my proudest work so far. So you put me on the spot because it was supposed to be out April 1st. It's not going to be out April 1st. I had to push the date back a couple of weeks. But now that I'm live, I'm gonna have to make sure I'm gonna have to have it out by April 15th. And the book is done. It's just really due to me procrastinating on some minor editing and different things like that that I had to do. So I've been finding or making time for everything else. But now that we're here, I have to get it done. So appreciate that opportunity.
Man, no, George, thank you for that because I think in a couple episodes back, Sean and I were just talking about the challenges of fatherhood and just the challenges of mental health or just even finding a therapist when there's
Mm-hmm.
an array of therapists to choose from. And
Yeah.
so just how overwhelming that can be just in its having the process of picking and finding. So I think, having a book that we could, folks can collect and reach out to for that support too is necessary, brother. So I'm excited that you're moving us
And
into that
I'm
space.
glad, and I'm glad you said that for two reasons. That's another reason why I write books, because I know that no matter how many times somebody says it on a podcast like this, or no matter how many memes, I know some people are stuck in their ways, I guess, for lack of a better term, and they're not going to come into a therapist's office. Like, it don't matter. But they will get a book because they can read it in the privacy of their home, you know what I'm saying, in their own time. So one of my, I don't want to call it a burden, but one of my calls is to get as much information out as possible to reach as many people as possible for those who are not going to. And you said something about it being hard to pick a therapist. It's something that I also want people to know, for whoever's listening. You ever had a situation or know of someone who had a situation where they were taking the same medication for something as someone else, but the medication had an adverse effect for this person, but had a beneficial effect for this person? Selecting a therapist is the exact same thing, meaning that every therapist won't fit. I know I'm not that therapist for everybody, but I'm the therapist for somebody, right?
Mm,
And so there might be a person who comes to me and my approach, my style, my personality might not click, but they might go to the therapist up the road and get a lot of help. And so I'm saying that because a lot of times I'll get people who they'll say like, I went to therapy about 7, 8 years ago, but they didn't click with that therapist, so they just kind of threw it all out or wiped it all out. So I'm saying that to say, even if somebody out there that's listening and you have had an experience that wasn't, a favorable one, that does not necessarily mean that therapy is for not for you. It could mean that the therapist wasn't for you. So give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? Be open to selecting or trying multiple ones till you find the right fit for your personality, for your history, for your, what I'm saying, uh, personality, I guess you could say, because you got to be able to click, because there is some rapport that has to be built in order for a person to open up, be transparent, be vulnerable, and really get to the root of some of these things so they can navigate away from those things. So
Yeah,
I want
no,
to
that's
yeah.
good. That's good.
So before we get out of here, I got a legit or not legit. It is that time. So before we get to the legit or not legit, so let me ask you, Kyle, what type of people write books? Like, what type of quality do you have to have? Like, should you be an expert at something? Like, most of the time, you should be an expert on that subject.
I think you should have some extensive experience in that area. I don't know if you have to be necessarily successful or whatever. I think you
Yep.
just better have I think you should have a tremendous amount of experience or time served, we should
Yeah,
say.
I like that. What do you, George? Do you agree with that?
I, I I
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't want to buy a book from somebody who just woke up one day and said, I want to write a book. So I 100% agree with what Kyle is saying. There's some extensive, or what I'm saying, some longevity,
Yeah.
history. Like, yeah, yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say
I
Yeah.
yes.
think this is a very
Cool.
leading question. That's what I'm
Cool.
feeling. It
Cool.
says lead me with
Cool.
a witness.
Yeah. So my legit or not legit tonight
Mm-hmm.
is it legit or not legit that one of the leading authorities in this country on fatherhood
Has not.
has have not written a book on fatherhood as it relates to young fathers or older fathers? Is that legit or not legit?
I'm gonna go with not legit. I don't think
Huh.
there's no reason for it. I don't think it's. I think it's a gross misfortune.
Wow.
That's what I would
Who,
say.
who
Gross
who are we talking about?
Gross. Gross. Kyle, is it
That's
legit
what
or
I would
not
say.
legit? Is it legit or not legit?
So this person has written other books.
No, they have never. They are an expert. They
Well,
travel the
that makes it
country.
worse.
that
They
was a
Wait,
good
travel
what
the
about
question.
country.
articles?
They,
Have they wrote articles? Have they published any? You know what I'm saying? A quick
I
blip or
mean,
something like that in a newspaper, or anything like that, or just
they wrote a curriculum. They wrote a curriculum.
okay, okay,
do they
okay.
use other platforms to
That
impact?
don't sway me too much, but okay,
Do they use other platforms to impact? No, they don't really use the platform. They more like one on one and like behind the scenes. But
mhm.
but
Behind the scenes.
people. Hmm, uh, Kyle, is it legit or not legit? Hey, Kyle, listen. With legit or not legit, we don't get a chance to answer a lot of questions for us to get to the legit or not legit. You just take face
Sure. Sure,
value.
you're correct. You're right. You're right. I used to do this with other topics. I understand where you're
Yeah.
saying it is not legit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Are you gonna let Cole
Hey,
ask Coach
hey,
answer?
hey, Doris
Did
said,
Cole
what we
answer?
talking about? You're about to find out right now. Cole, what
I
you
didn't hear.
think?
I didn't hear
Cole,
Cole vote. I didn't hear
I need
Cole vote.
Cole
I don't
vote.
know how he
I
feels.
need his vote. I need his vote. So, Dar, you should know who we are talking about. The one who's mute right now. The one that is not giving their vote.
Oh wow.
That's good, Sha.
So I'm gonna put my vote in. I'm gonna say it's not legit. I'm not gonna say it's gross, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna say it's despicable.
How do
It's deplorable.
Woo! That accountability, boy.
oh,
So,
oh,
um, yeah,
Sweating. All
yeah,
that sweating. I hear you. I heard you. I
you
heard you.
heard.
I
Okay.
heard you. I
Hey,
heard it.
till
Thank you.
next time, man. We love you guys for rocking with us, guys. Thanks for staying back the whole time, man, and all the other people that rocks with us. We love you. Yo, we'll be here next week, man. As we always say, man. Well, as I always say, I just felt led to say it tonight. Don't be average. You might as
Woo.
well be elite, right, Cole?